at the hook again, just there. Right there at the net. Well, good morning folks. Finally, actually managed to get out, do a bit of fishing during this third lockdown. I hope you've all managed to stay safe and well. I know it's been really frustrating that we can only fish locally, but at least, you know, most of us can get out and fish locally. I don't have a great deal of waters around where I live, but unfortunately I've got quite a lot of river, but it's been absolutely flooded, so I've not really been able to get out. I fished one local venue where I caught a few carp during a really frosty period. Had a really good day actually, just on the bomb and bread. Didn't bother taking the cameras because I actually didn't think I was going to catch anything, and most of the people on the lake didn't, but I think I just sat on the fish, and yeah, the rod was going around about 16-17 carp, so which was good. But other than that, I've not really managed to get out. Anyway, yeah, the floods seem to have abated, and the rivers seem to have got back into some sort of condition where we can fish them, and a few people have been out. It's the 21st of February today, so yeah, a few people went out yesterday. I've seen some posts on Facebook, which is good, and yeah, it looks like a few fish are coming out because they're probably hungry now. Anyway, I've come up to a local river near me, which is a river ooze. It's Lammas Meadow. I've done a video here once before. It can produce some good weights of bream. It just all depends if they're here or not. But yeah, got here first thing this morning. The weather was a bit iffy, it's a bit raining, so I've sort of held back from doing a bit of filming. But it's what's the time now? Yeah, it's 9 o'clock now, so I've put a bit of bait out there. I've had a couple of casts and I've had a couple of bites, and I've actually lost both fish, which isn't good. But yeah, literally right at the net, both of them look. The last one I lost was definitely a bream. The one before that I didn't even see it. But yeah, just as I was pulling it up to get it in my net, it spat the hook. So yeah, I need to have a look at my rigs, not working properly. But yeah, like I say, I'm at Lammas Meadow. This is it here. It's got plenty of colour in the water. It's pushing through a little bit, which is good. You always want it pushing through. There's a sluice sort of further down the river, which they open and close sporadically during the day. Obviously they kind of do that obviously to alleviate the flooding. This field you can see behind me here normally goes completely underwater, and then there's a field the other side of that which also gets completely underwater, and then there's a road which they actually closed off because it had flooded the road, and then we had that freeze, and it had literally frozen right across the road, so they had to shut the road off. They've only just opened it up this weekend, which was quite handy because it was quicker for me to come that way. But yeah, so tactics today is, you know, put a fair bit of bait out there, which I did this morning, and yeah, fish maggot, dead reds. I've got some pinkies as well, they can work, and I've got some worms. Fairly simple. The ground bait mix, I'll put molasses with it, just using the peg #1 ground baits, but yeah, just putting molasses with it. It really isn't anything special, the ground bait, but what I find works here is if you put molasses with it. I've fished here with plenty of people over the past, they haven't put molasses in their ground bait, and I just don't catch fish, and they're literally in a swim next door to me. My dad's experienced that, and a few of my colleagues have. Yet you put molasses in your ground bait and they seem to like it here, so it's positive. I've had a couple of bites already, which is good, albeit I've missed a fish. But yeah, so we'll carry on going. Yeah, so I'll sign off now, get into a bit of fishing, and hopefully come back to you with a fish on. See you in a bit. Cheers, bye. Rod up high. Certainly putting up a good account of itself, that's for sure. It's not even that big. Yeah, it may well be. Yeah, it don't look like it's coming in properly. Might be right, it's foul looked. Yeah, it is, it's foul looked, that's why. No, it's not foul looked, it's in the mouth. It just wrapped round the line. Gotcha that time. Oh dear. Half of it's the weight of that feeder. Well folks, here we go. First one in, got me snagged up a little bit. That's a few pound. Quite pleased with that. Let's put her in the net, see if we can get another one. Right guys, just want to go over my rig with you. Best you can. I'll put my rod down for the moment. So I don't know how well you can see this, guys. Hopefully you can see it. If I kind of put it up against me, you may be able to see it a bit better. But this is Paternoster rig. It's something I only really ever use when I'm fishing rivers, especially when it's flowing, and I always use it here because it's quite deep out there in the middle. Although there is a bit of a ledge. But what I tend to find is that by fishing the Paternoster, obviously there's quite a bit of flow. And by obviously the river's pulling that line with your feeder on the ground, and what that'll enable is your line lifts up, and this is your Paternoster, which comes up from up here, and it just allows your bait to lift off the surface and sort of like drift up and down naturally. And as you can see, I've actually got quite a long tail. It's almost a metre away from where it's fixed, and it's a really easy rig to tie. I don't know if you can see, and apologies if it's not that good, but this is what I call a twizzle boom here, and literally this is all the same length of line just coming off of my rod. It's just £6. It's Pulse Pro line, and all I do is I just make a massive loop like here, and I twizzle it up. And there's loads of videos on YouTube about how to twizzle your line, but literally just get two at both ends of it and just keep twiddling, and it twiddles up, and I twizzle it up right up to here, there, so it's almost a foot, and then I tie a double granny knot at the top here, so then the end of my line, obviously that's not going to the rod, the end of the line, which is just up to here, is actually coming out the top. So both ends are coming out the top, as opposed to it coming down the bottom of the knot. It's coming out the top of the knot. And the reason I do that is because, I don't know if you can see, but it loops up. And the reason I do that is because it actually kicks the line away from the feeder. So as it sits there, it kicks it away. And what that does is it just basically stops it tangling up. Just that little kick just stops it tangling. So hopefully you can see that, guys. And then all I do is I just tie a little loop on the end of the line, and then I actually tie me a loop to loop with my hook link just here. And I'm using £4 fluorocarbon today, and I've actually got a size 12 hook on now. I was fishing with a 14, but I lost a couple of fish, so I've now put a size 12 on, and I just managed to get that bream. So yeah, fairly simple setup. It can't really get much easier, to be honest with you. But when I fish rivers that have got a decent flow on them, I always prefer to fish a Paternoster as opposed to a standard sort of running rig. I find the running rigs, they just lay on the bottom, and it just doesn't give that natural kind of wafting, which this will just you know, waft up and down, and I feel as though it just attracts more bites and quicker bites by fishing a Paternoster. Okay, I'll just grab hold of the camera, and then I'll just go over my, just bear with me. Here we go, sorry about that. I'll just go over me my rod and my reel. The rod I'm using today, it's actually quite a powerful rod because, you know, let's say there's a big body of water here. So I'm actually using, you see that there, which it's the Free Spirit High S power feeder, and it's the 12-foot version, so it's a distance 360. Probably maybe a little bit overkill. You may want to use one of the specials here rather than the distance, so it's got a little bit more action in the rod, but as you can see, there's a lot of flow, and it's you know, you do need quite a powerful rod here because you're using very heavy feeders. The feeder, funny enough, I didn't go over the feeder. The feeder I'm using is just a cage feeder. It's not a steel one, it's a plastic cage. But what I've done, don't know if you can see here, but I've actually added loads of lead to it, just so I can hold out bottom there. It's a 5-hole feeder. You can use bigger than that, but I find 5 holes fine. Don't really need to put much more bait than that out there. It doesn't stay in there very long anyway with the flow. So yeah, so it's just and the reason I use one of these conventional feeders is because I want it laying on the bottom sideways like that, so it sits on the bottom like that, so that the actual flow of the water can flow through the feeder and push the bait out, so it comes out in my swim as opposed to when I strike, and I could be obviously pulling that ground bait through my swim and spreading it all over the place. I actually want it where I'm fishing. So if I use one of the guru feeders where you've got all the weight at the bottom, I could potentially be pulling that ground bait, you know, sort of like out of my swim, which I don't want to do. So that's the reason why I use a conventional sort of cage feeder that sits on its side, and it allows the ground bait to come out while it's sat there in the water. I'm actually using reel wise, let's just clear these, sorry about that, let's just clear that off the camera lens. I don't know if that's helped. There we go, apologies. Reel wise, I don't know if you can see, this is the new tournament QD reel from Daiwa. It's the 4010 QD, and yeah, so far I'm really pleased with it, and coupled up with this rod, it's really good. It's got quite a good cranking action. It's quite a light reel, so I wasn't sure about the cranking action, but yeah, I'm quite impressed with it at the moment. First time I've used it, so obviously we've got the rest of the day to see how it gets on, but at the moment, yeah, I'm quite impressed with it. Tip wise, I've just got a 1.5 ounce hollow tip in at the moment, and it's, yeah, it's creating a bit of a bend, but most of the bites are sort of like a little knock and then a drop back. So yeah, managing to hold out there with a 1.5 ounce. But like I say, the hollow tips are, sorry about this on the camera, it's spitting with rain. The hollow tips, they are, if it was just like a glass tip, obviously it would bend a lot more. So although it's a 1.5 ounce tip, the action on it's slightly different. So actually a 1.5 ounce tip on one hollow tip on a Free Spirit rod is enough to hold out there. Bait wise, as you can see, this is my ground bait. I've got some micros in there with that as well, but I've got a lot of molasses in there, which why it looks quite sort of gloopy, but it's yeah, it's like I say, I always find that putting a lot of molasses in this holds, and it makes it very inert as well, so it literally, you know, stays on the deck. It doesn't, you know, start floating up and taking the fish away, which is quite good. I've just got some live maggots, I've got some pinkies, and I've got some dead reds, and as you can see at the moment, I'm just starting to chop up some worms, and I've got a tub of dendrobinas there. I've actually not put any worm out yet, but I'm going to start doing that in a moment. Just start introducing a small bit, just to see if I can start getting some more positive bites, because they're a little bit finicky at the moment. Yeah, that's really it. I might say apologies, I've not posted a lot obviously online or on YouTube. It's just I've not been out fishing, it's as simple as that, and I can't see the point in just doing videos for the sake of it, just to talk about stuff that most of you guys know anyway. So rather post myself fishing, and hopefully you enjoy it, and it encourages you guys to get out. I know there's been a lot of people posting on Facebook saying, oh, they just haven't had the enthusiasm to go and get out fishing, and I can understand that, but yeah, try and get out in the fresh air. It's good for us all. So anyway, I'm going to sign off now, have another cast, chop up some more worms, see if I can get another bream, and I'll hopefully come back to you with a fish on. See you in a bit. Cheers. One of the other things you might notice, guys, is I've actually got my rod up in the air, as opposed to normally I have it down sort of like pointing into the water. There's a couple of reasons for that. Obviously it's flowing quite fast, so if you have all your line in the water right up to your tip, that's a big amount of line that can get pulled by the flow. So by getting your line up and out, you're actually reducing the amount of line that's in the water, so that body of water won't necessarily pull it, and it just reduces the bow in your line. The second reason for it here is because there's actually a ledge, which you've probably seen on the fish that I've hooked. You've got to get them fish over that ledge, and it's a bit frustrating because during the summertime that gets quite weeded up, and there'll be lots of sort of like dead sort of like bunches of weed down there and snags that obviously the feeder gets hooked on as you're, because I'm fishing a Paternoster, can get hooked on as you're bringing the fish up over that ledge. So by having a rod up, what you're doing is you're fishing sort of like, there's the ledge and your line's going over that ledge. It's not running along it and down. So what that does is that helps bite indication. Obviously if my line was going over that ledge and being pulled down over it, when I'm getting bites, it's rubbing on that ledge and it hinders that indication on your tip. So so there's a couple of reasons why I've got the rod up in the air. Also the way, it's a little bit different when you're fishing a flowing river. You've got a constant bend in your tip. So what you're looking for is you normally just get like a little knock and then a drop back. And if they're really having it, sometimes it just wraps round. But more often than not, you'll get a little knock and then it'll drop back. And then sometimes you have to wait for it to then pull again. Because sometimes you can get a little knock and a drop back and the fish isn't there. So you just have to be patient, sometimes sit on your hands and just wait for it to go again. And that's when you pull into it. That's how this particular fishery is, with the way that the bream feed. They're not normally your normal sort of big wrap around slow bream bites. You do get them, but normally they're just a tug, a drop back, and then a pull again, and then you're in. Once again, using the old trusty stopwatch, just gives me an idea of what time the bites are coming, and if I need to recast, if the bites have if the bites are sort of like coming every 5 minutes and I haven't had a bite within 6 minutes, I'll recast. Likewise, if the bites are coming within a couple of minutes and I don't have a bite after a couple of minutes, I may leave it till 3 or 4 minutes and then bring it in. Don't leave it out there too long. Just keep that trickle of bait going. Oh, there we go, drop back and it's still going. Don't know if you saw that, guys, on the camera, but I don't think it's very big. But I had a little knock, it dropped back and then it went again. Oh no, it's not on, I've lost it. So, but that's exactly what the bites are like. Apart from if I was a better angler, maybe I'd have hooked it. Anyway, had a small bit of worm and just a dead red on that then. We'll go again. Just putting a tiny bit of chopped worm in the feeder now, just to see if I can encourage better bites, because they've been a bit finicky. And clipped up, as you can see, so I'm hitting the same spot every time. And all I do is let it hit the bottom. Line goes slightly slack when it hits the bottom. Half a turn on my reel and then it settles down and that tip just starts bending round. Reset the stopwatch. That bite was after 4 minutes, so oh, there we go, another little touch then. I have had a few smaller fish, I've had a few little roach. So it could be that they're sort of getting there before the bream at the moment. But it is nice to, definitely nice to get out. And it's even better to see the tip going round. You never know here, I've been here so many times and just sat here all day and not had a bite. It's just, yeah, it's a very moody river. And like I say, there are some very big shoals of bream here. Some very big bream as well. Sometimes you get the skimmer bream. sometimes you can get into very, very large bream, almost double figure bream. But like I say, the conditions are ideal today. It's a bit overcast, so it's raining this morning, and there's a nice flow on the river. Always like a nice flow on it, and it's got a bit of colour in it as well, which always helps. Well, it don't look like it's going to go round this time, so I'll yeah, bring it in, have a recast and see how we get on. Hopefully come back to you with a fish on. Right, stand up now, try and get it over that ledge. Right down, which is good. There we go. Bream number 2, guys. Well, a large skimmer. 2.5 pound. Lovely. Managed to avoid the ledge this time as well, which was good. Got it straight in. So what I've done is I've actually cut out putting any bait now into me feeder, and it's stopping them smaller fish having to go at it early, and it's resulted in a bream. So I'm not putting any chop worm in there now either. I've had a couple of goes with chop worm in, and it just kind of like killed the swim. You know, bites just stopped. So I've just literally just putting my ground bait in there now, double dead red, and that seems to have done the job. So we can get a few more. Well, the fishing's got a bit slow now. Yeah, it went right off. I was just getting plagued by little ones, and then even they sort of died off. So what I've done is I've re-fed it out there. I've got the old Guru bait up feeder, and I put about 6 of those out there, and I've now started putting quite a lot of chop worm out there. Last couple of casts I've got little touches on that one, it went round properly, so I'm fishing with a worm on the hook with a dead red. So hopefully by introducing the worm now, it's going to start bringing them on. So yeah, see if we can get a few more. started putting quite a heavy amount of worm in. And I started getting touches, but they weren't really confident bites, but there were definitely indications of fish there. And I started picking the odd one off. I think the biggest change I've made just in the last sort of half hour or so is I decided, because I thought maybe the shoulder fish is there, but they backed off, and I was just picking the odd one off at the end of it. So pulled off about another 2.5 metres of line, and since I've done that, I've literally had a bite almost straight away as soon as it's gone in. So maybe now I'm actually sitting in the middle of the shoal and they're starting to compete for it. So let's hope we can start putting a bit of a weight together. Oh, the fish has come off and left me with a snag. Lovely. Well, as you can see, it don't always go to plan. Did have a nice bream on, it got snagged. And there we go, that's a snag down there. Never mind. We'll go again. Hopefully that losing that fish won't push the shoal away, because I'm starting to get a few bites now. And they're definitely from bream. But one thing I'd like to say about it is a lot of people don't make these little changes. They kind of think they set their stall out and that's it. You know, never be afraid to just go out a couple of more meters, or maybe just try a different ground bait mix, or you know, add in a bit of worm, or take worm out, or don't put any ground bait in there at all. Just try all these little things. If you think about it, just do it. Steve Ringer taught me that, funnily enough. One of the things he always said was, you know, if he thinks about it, just do it. Don't wait, you know, another half an hour or so, because obviously you could have missed the boat. So yeah, and that's all I've done today, is I've just tweaked it and made little changes, and I've kept the bites coming. It's not been brilliant, it's not been rapid, but it's, you know, I've been getting regular bites, especially this afternoon, since I've started introducing that worm. So yes, there's one thing really we take away from today, and that's that. Just don't be scared to make these little changes, because if it don't work, you've not lost anything, because you weren't getting bites beforehand anyway. And then you know. But once again, also, I mean, I did try introducing the worm this morning, and I felt as though it killed it a bit, so I come off of it. But it didn't make me afraid to try it again this afternoon, and I tried it, and then it's worked. So yeah, just keep trying, chopping and changing little things, you know, maybe come a bit shorter, go a bit further out. All these little things can just suddenly make a difference, and you start getting fish. So, right, or twigs, as the case may be on that cast. So hopefully I'll go out there and catch a proper fish this time, rather than a twig fish. I'll come back to you in a bit. Right guys, well I've had a great day. Probably caught, I don't know, about 16 bream I think, something like that. Lost 6 or 7 and bumped one. So yeah, it's been a really good day. Ollie's finally got a visit the last couple of hours, so he's starting to rack up a few bream now, which is good. Seem to have drifted away from me and they've gone over to Ollie now. So, but yeah, it's been a really good day. Really enjoyed it. Let's just have a quick look. I don't know how much you're going to be able to see. Certainly a decent weight here. Don't really know how much you can see there guys, but it's got to be, whoa, probably an average of about £5, £4 fish. So yeah, you're probably looking at 60, maybe even £70 of fish. There you go, guys. Nice cut of big bream for you. There you go, guys. Right, folks, well, it's been absolutely amazing finally to get out after this lockdown and have a really good day's fishing. Not be freezing cold, not be soaking wet. Yeah, Lammas Meadow on the Ouse, one of my favourite places ever. It can be very moody, but today she's behaved. She's produced some nice fish. Ollie got into some in the end, and yeah, and I had some obviously earlier on in the day. Had a bit of a gap and then managed to get some in the afternoon. But yeah, all in all, it's been a really good day, and we both really enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Like I say, I apologise for there not being any more, but I'm just not getting out and doing the fishing. I'm hoping to get out next weekend with a bit of luck. If I do, and I'm going somewhere where it's worthy of filming, and I'll film it again for you guys. But then after that, I'm actually going in for an operation on my foot, which means I'm going to be out of action for about 5 or 6 weeks. So I'm certainly not going to film that, that's for sure. It'll be a bit gory for you. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed today. I really have, and I know Ollie has. It's been fantastic. This is you know, this is what I really enjoy, river fishing for bream. It's just the best for me. I absolutely love it. You know, not nice sort of big open waters where you can, you know, it's a good cast. It's got a nice flow on it, and them bream really do give you a tussle. It's been fantastic. So, like I said before, I hope you enjoyed the video. I've certainly enjoyed the day. If you have enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget, if you want to see more videos like this, then please hit subscribe, and then you won't miss them. So anyway, guys, thanks ever so much, and I hope to see you in the swim soon. Bye bye.